Yo, what up? And welcome to Encounter the Spire, where we talk about the fights I like in Slay the Spire 2, a game I like. This presentation focuses on the elite fights that are currently in the only Act 2 biome, Hive. I'll be referencing the early access build, but not the beta branch that exists as of this writing, as I personally prefer more finalized versions. Now, Hive is quite a mixed bag, mostly a bag of rocks and bugs, but nonetheless. The hallway fights are rarely straightforward, with some even more threatening than the elites we're gonna talk about. I'm looking at you, Hunter Beast, you piece of peace. Vibe wise, it definitely gives the feel of fighting wave after wave of a deadly swarm, slowly making your way until you meet a crab, this nerd, Leto the second. Well, in any case, let's start with Decimillipede. So, Megacrit has definitely been watching the classics, I see. Now, alone in the Spire is this little elite. It's hundreds of tiny feet scrambling and burrowing towards you. It's just such a strange looking enemy to be made an elite. I guess the lack of a face, something to stare at, just throws me off. Now, fighting it is a matter of planning, timing, and mathing. The main gimmick of this fight is if you kill one segment, it comes back, partially healed in 2 turns. Now, having area of effect damage has already been established in the first act to be crucial for survival, and now this is emphasized even more. You can also burst down segment after segment quickly, but that sometimes requires good or lucky card draws to prevent the regen from happening. And it doesn't help that aside from trampling you, it slowly gains strength and weakens you. Also, each segment rotates their role, meaning you can't just lock down that specific chunk. Thus, the pressure turns up pretty quick, which makes this already challenging fight even more so. Now, to compensate its multiplicitous nature, its HP is much lower, meaning with experience, you can kinda trivialize this entire thing. Still, the nature of this fight gives it such a threatening aura. I find winning against the Millipede only goes 2 ways. I kill it in 1 or 2 turns, or I barely survive the fight. Playing defensive is usually difficult as it buffs itself while it debuffs you. If I have enough damage, I burst down the segment that's about to weaken me, then I guess spray or whatever. Carefully spreading your damage is probably the standard way of dealing with it, and having decent AoE is kinda assumed by the game at this point, as many fights in STS2 are in groups. Cards that AoE debuff are also incredible in this fight. Overall, Decimillipede is definitely a good challenge in Act 2 and a good fit for the game. I give it a family-friendly body horror trilogy out of 10. Next up, we have Entomancer. Now, this bug wizard is already one of the most infamous enemies in Slay the Spire 2, and it hasn't even been a month yet. But out of the Hive elites, this is my favorite design-wise. Though I wish its colors don't meld with the background, I guess that's the point since we are rolling into their turf and you can see it as a form of a camo look thing. Vibes wise, this guy looks cool, creepy, and menacing. Perfect for an elite fight. It could get tripophobic if you stare at it for too long, so I really hope Megacrit releases that phobia toggle soon. Like the multi-lens compact eyes it probably has now, there's a lot to be said about Entomancer. First, let's get the main gimmick out of the way. Every time you hit it, it gives you a dazed card. After a few turns, this amount increases. It straight up punishes certain deck builds, which is the main complaint about this fight. I am weirdly okay with it though. Not because I can deal with it, because Niao knows I've folded to this fight too many times, but because this is the right amount of annoying an elite encounter should be. Making a hard counter to specific playstyles adds to STS2's fun, keeping you on your toes all the time, making you sweat as you click that button, and hope to any listening god that your opening hand doesn't suck. Now, if your Shiftastic deck or something similar does encounter the Entomancer, I suggest you pace yourself, because it's actually the squishiest out of the 3 Hive elites if you combine the Decimillipede's HP bars. And it doesn't even protect itself well other than flooding your deck. So with careful card slinging and a half-decent block plan, you can easily deal with this magical bug person, or at the very least, be less afraid of it. Overall, love it or hate it, I think the Entomancer is here to stay, making sure your slick 12-card deck is gonna have a bad time. I give it a bug's life out of 10. Finally, we have Infested Prism, a simple elite. So simple, in fact, it doesn't even feel like one. I mean, we've already done the I just attack good elite. So why is it back and kinda more boring than ever? This red Dorito even has a helpful gimmick, giving you energy if it gets hit by an attack. Yes, the damage values are high and sometimes it does buff itself while defending, but other than that, I'm not sure if there's anything else interesting to say about it. Even its visual design feels very unelite like. I mean, a handful of corn chips would probably scare off a few people, but this floating nacho doesn't really exude any kind of elite aura. Not even comparing to the tried and tested a bunch of guys elite group STS1 had. But I guess if there's anything good I could say about it, is that unlike the other two Hive elites, Infested Prism is a limit test on your deck's basics. And you know what? Maybe that's the point of this triangle. Okay, maybe not everything has to be fancy, but I suppose I find it a bit too similar. Whereas in the previous game, they really tried to make every elite encounter a unique experience. So, yeah, that's it. I try to give each elite equal screen time, but I'm drawing a blank on what else to say. But to reiterate, I don't want every elite fight to be a puzzle. I mean, I love Bertonis because it is so one-dimensional. But this follow-up feels a lot less interesting for some reason. Overall, I wish it was a bit more something. But alas, I give it a very Euclidean shape out of 10. In conclusion, the Hive Elites are a cool collection of incomplete ideas, whether it's from their look or how they fight. There's just something missing from each creature. In the first game, enemies in these kinds of fights have a strong presence that makes them memorable. However, it could also be said that STS1 elites become normal fights down the line, whereas these ones are always one of a kind. So maybe the boring answer, is just time. We just let them cook. After all, and I gotta emphasize this, it hasn't been a month yet. There's definitely going to be so many changes down the line. So the best we can do is trust the process, hit F12 on our keyboards, and let them know what they think, and not review bombing the game like idiots. Anywho, I can't wait to see what becomes of the Hive Trio. Till then, bye B.